Hey guys, and welcome back to this video where I will be going through the results for February 2026 with the bot zone search. And in this not too exciting video, I will be running every single setup and I will just show you what the results look like. The data quality will be 100% because the tick data is downloaded from dukascopy. So that's the most legit data that you can get. And yeah, let's get started. So what you can see right here is that we are running trirex zone search 1.17, which is the latest version. And we are running it on USD Plus with underscore February 2026. So this means that this is custom data that I downloaded and I named it myself February 2026. We are running it on a 1 minute time frame. The time frame doesn't really matter for this strategy. And we are running it from February 1st until February 28th. The delay is 100 milliseconds, which is the same pretty much as my MT5, but it doesn't really matter. And obviously the modeling quality is every tick based on real ticks. I still see people testing their EAs or promoting their EAs with every tick or anything different from every tick based on real ticks. Just so you know, if they show you anything different than every tick based on real tick, the data is not correct and cannot be trusted. We are running a 10,000 euro account with a 1 to 500 leverage. This can also be lower. And we are always risking 100 euro per trade. So that means that on every trade, we risk 1% of the account. It's a fixed amount. Anyways, what I will be doing is every time I start a test, I will make this small and load in the setup right here. And the reason I make it small is because I do not want everyone to be able to see all of the settings. The settings are available, of course, for all customers. But yeah, I simply do not want that every single person on this planet can see what I'm running. Anyways, when I run a test, I will just quickly go through what you can see and the results, and then we move on. So this video doesn't last like 20 minutes. So this is the first setup of USD big win, and then it just went down. Minus 26 euros, so that's around break even. If it's around like minus 1%, plus 1%, I do not see it as a profitable or losing month really. It's around break even. Then we move on to the second setup, which is one of my most favorite setups. And this one just went sideways pretty much. So minus 56 euros, so also a very tiny loss, nothing special. I made this a bit too small. And then we move on to the third setup of USD. And if I'm correct, this setup did not perform well. As we can see, it did indeed not perform well and has been the worst performing pair for USD. And we can see, by the way, that the history quality is always 100%, which means that the quality is as good as it can be. Let's make this smaller again, and let's load in the fourth setup for USD, which is usually also a very good performing one. But yeah, what we can see and what we will see throughout this video is that most of the setups have just been going sideways. Nothing special, nothing too bad. Me personally, I made like 36 euros after commissions and fees. And yeah, that's pretty much like break even for me. So let's move on to my favorite pair. My favorite setup, sorry. Which is USD 5. And this one has also just been going sideways and performed break even. Then we go through the most risky setup out of all of the setup, which is USD 6. And I think this one performed really well. I'm not running it myself, but what we can always see with this setup is that it loses a lot. And when it wins very big. So this is a giant win. Plus 4.6%, which is very good. All right. And then we move on to the last setup for USD, which is the 7th setup. And this one, I think, didn't make any money as well. So what we can see is that this one is the only setup with a break-even function, and then it floated in a profit very often, but closed trades at break-even. We can see it like 5 to 8 times. Minus 68. All right, let's move on to Euro JPY. Let's first select the setup, and then we obviously need to change the currency pair. So it will be obviously Euro JPY _ February 2026. Let's start this one. This is the first setup. And how much money did it make? Minus 161. So that's minus 1.5%. Nothing too crazy. Been going down, then up. Yeah, that's pretty much what we can see with every setup. Just going sideways. Small wins, small losses. I am personally running the third setup of Euro JPY. And this is the second one. Which, same thing. Well, it made minus 78. So under 1% loss. And now we are going to, let me just make it smaller, to test the last one, which is Euro JPY setup 3. And let's see how this one performed. So the third setup, let's take a look, minus 206. So minus 2%, that is, as we can see right here. Anyways, that's it for Euro JPY. Let's move on to Australian dollar JPY. And for this pair, we have 2 setups. So let's load up the first one. And yeah, this video is not exciting at all. It's always very boring, but it's very important to make these kind of videos to exactly show you how setups perform. Minus 102. So that's just 1% loss. Let me take a look for the next setup, which is the second one of Australian dollar JPY. This one made a bit more profit, as we can see. So this one made 2.6%, which is pretty nice. Nothing special, nothing crazy, but at least money. And now we are going to move on to the second to last pair, which is GBP USD. There we go, GBP USD for February. And we are going to load in the first setup, which I am not running myself either. I am running the second setup. There's not a giant difference between the two, but the second setup has some better performance when we take a look at the backtest. There we go. So minus 47. So once again, around break even. Let's load in the second setup for GBP USD. And this setup I'm running myself, but did not perform well. So minus 184. And then we move on to the last pair, which is Euro USD. And we're going to load in the only setup that we have for Euro USD. And let's start this on. Let's see how this one performed. And same thing, a small loss. So that sums up February. I will see you back in the recap video next month for March 2026.